For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Arizona State week. And Dan and I were both encouraged by today's practice. We thought it was better than yesterday's. It seemed like offensively, having a slimmer playbook for Jack Sears and Holden Thomas is actually helping the offense, maybe helping them execute things that they know that they can do well. So, Dan, what were your takeaways from practice today?
Yeah, and I think having Jack Sears to be quarterback the second day. I mean, it showed up in 7-on-7 passing. It showed up, whenever they ran full team stuff. He came a long way from yesterday to today. And I would think, stepping in that first day isn't easy. I think, focusing on, not reinventing the wheel, focusing on what you've done all year and think you can really do well. I think it will be a plus in this game for the offense. So I thought the offense got some things done that made you feel like, okay, I like where this is going. And I think the defense, they know they ran out of gas at Utah, and they let some guys, some really good athletes in Huntley and Moss, get away from them. But I think they're doing some things to address that. You just don't want that imbalance again. For the second straight game where the other team runs 80-some plays and you're running 50-some plays. Yeah. That's just the kind of imbalance that no defense is really, equipped to handle. So whether they can, keep the offense on the field enough, I think they at least know what they have to do, and maybe have to give some guys some rest on special teams and things like that, so they're, really ready to go on defense. But what you would hope is that you take the Utah game, you learn from it, and you work your way through it. I think having a simplified playbook helps them work their way through it. I think the defense, having played Arizona State the last couple of years with the same quarterback and top receiver and all that, I think that gives them a sense of, okay, we know where these guys are coming from. So I had a good feeling today about where they were.
Yeah, as far as the quarterback situation goes, JT Daniels did not practice for a second day. Helton says that JT is still going through concussion protocol. When asked what makes the game time decision, who will be the starter, Helton said if JT is not cleared by Friday, then he'll just make that call on Friday. So Jack Sears knows that he will be the starter. But so far, it seems like Jack Sears is the guy right now.
Yeah, he is. Literally, he's the guy. It would be asking an awful lot, to put Holden Thomas out there. We were trying to figure out the last time a walk-on quarterback had played for USC. I don't think we could. I don't think we know. Might be a good question to do a little research on. But I got the sense today. Maybe I had a little more of a sense yesterday that the thought is that the JT is definitely going to be there. I think it might be up a little bit up in the air right now in terms of where JT is. And whether they, if he gets cleared, Friday, you still maybe, you go with Jack to start, but you've got JT ready to go. This makes it an interesting week. I think very much so.
Someone whose fate for Saturday is pretty much determined is Cam Smith. Helton said that he's pretty much not going to be available for Saturday. The goal is to get him ready for Oregon State. Helton actually said that Cam Smith got his knee drained and did get some injections, a PRP injection, and another injection of something that I'm not remembering. But it's a knee and hamstring issue, and you can tell when he's out on the field. He has a knee sleeve on. He's a little gimpy. He did have full pads yesterday, but he wasn't dressed out today, so it looked like Cam Smith took a step back today.
Yeah, that was the giveaway. As soon as you walk in, you try to locate, JT Daniels. Does he have shoulder pads on? You try to locate Cam. What situation's he in? I think once they give you, the injection and they drain your knee and all that, you're going to be sore enough that he wasn't going to practice today. But if he doesn't practice today, he's this week it's probably not worth rushing him back. One of the reasons is Palais is just playing so well. He's just he's talking about, he had 74 plays, I guess, Saturday, and he said, I think I really feel comfortable now. I'm getting the calls, and so it's 2 games for him. So you're very lucky if you lose a middle linebacker and you have a Palais ready to step in. He is played awfully well, and the same thing with Talanoa Hufanga. I mean, to have two true freshmen that can, produce the way those two can. Yes, he's been very fortunate. You got JT and Amon-Ra on offense, and to have four true freshmen, things might be a little rough now, but there aren't many teams that have four true freshmen that have had the chance to do what they've had to, been able to do this year.
Yeah, and in that sense, the future definitely looks bright for USC. But you mentioned earlier in this video about some guys asking for more rest. One of those guys is Christian Rector, and he played 92 plays against Utah, one shy of his career high, and 17 plays of those were on special teams. And so there was a point where he missed a couple of sacks, would-be sacks, because he was just a little bit too tired. And so he told both Dan and I today that he asked John Baxter if he can get some rest on special teams. So now it's based on when Rector feels a little tired, he'll ask Baxter and get some rest. But that's good, at least clarifying that at this point, so you don't have guys like Christian Rector who are playing that many plays getting tired on the field.
Yeah, he was a little sheepish too. He didn't want to admit that he had gone up, to Coach Baxter and said, "Would there be a way if I'm, really, out there on defense for a long time, and then you're in there on a coverage situation where you're going to do a lot of running and all that, and you just one play after another after another." I mean, how well he had played, for example, to get in position, twice to sack Hundley. And both times, I mean, Hundley's a great athlete, and to not be able to finish off, the sack, you've done your job to get there, but your body doesn't quite let you have the ability to keep your legs going to drive through him and take him down. So I'm glad that makes some sense that they talked about it. They'll work it out. If he needs in a game, he'll be able to say, "Why don't you put somebody else in? Give me a little bit of a breather." 92 plays is just, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, no one should be playing 92 plays.
Yeah. Another guy who returned today was Jalen Harris. He got the day off yesterday because his father passed away. We got to talk to him. He said his dad would have wanted him to play on Saturday, and said he was very close with his dad and he enjoyed him playing football. So it was a sad moment for Jalen, but he said that his team needs him out there. And you can see that. There's definitely a difference on the field when Jalen is out there. He's kind of that unsung glue guy for the defense.
Yeah, and he's this quiet leader, and he's the guy that when you talk about the Coliseum win streak, I mean, you can tell. I mean, here's a kid that grew up not very far away from the Coliseum, and he knows how important that is, and talks about what it means for the team, what it means for his teammates, what it means for the alumni. I mean, he just said, we don't necessarily talk about it, out loud, but he said it's a real motivator for us to keep that that win streak going. So I think that it was good to see him back today. I mean, really, there's just something about it. I mean, those of us who were there, I think Ryan and I were there. The first day he showed up, when he was still a high school kid, wasn't being recruited. USC had a lot of injuries in the winter passing game, where they would go out and throw in the winter. They didn't have enough receivers, and he just said, "Well, I'll jump in. I'm a high school quarterback, but I'll jump in there." And he just started, coming and practicing with USC, and the more you saw him, the more you realized this kid would really be good in this program. Yeah. And you go, play defense, be a receiver, whatever you need him to do. But there's just a sense of well-being if a Jenny's around. You just have a feeling like, okay, this kid is he's what you need in a senior.
Yeah. Helton described Saturday's game against Arizona State as ultra-critical in as far as remaining in step with Colorado and Utah in the Pac-12 South race. With Manny Wilkins and company, what do you think this defense should expect from ASU?
I think they're going to, do what they do. I mean, a lot of teams, they're a team that, they've got N'Keal Harry, a big-time receiver. Manny Wilkins can run and throw. As Jenny was saying, he's a lot like Huntley. Yeah. And he can do both things, and we know what he can do. And they also know how Arizona State hasn't had much luck. They're 3 one-score losses to Washington, Colorado, and Stanford. And, that hasn't been easy. So, they may be the one team in this, that have 3 losses as opposed to everybody else with 2. But there's not that much difference at all, as they've proved in, most of their games. So this is a threat to the the win streak at the Coliseum. So they've got to. They know. I think they really do know how important this game is. How much they've got to be ready. I don't think there's any. After last week, there's just no chance they're looking past anybody.
Yeah.
And Arizona State, I'm sure, is looking at USC and saying, based on last week, we've got a real shot.
Yeah. Well, if USC knows that they have to get it done on Saturday, knowing and executing are two separate things. From what you've seen at practice this week, what's your gut feel on how it will go on Saturday?
I have a better feeling today. I thought they looked like they knew what they were doing, and they were able to do it. I thought again, a lot of what we see is against the scout team. So, you're kind of guessing as to how this translates, into game action. But I just had a better feeling about this team today. Not as much yesterday. Yesterday I thought was trying to put things together without JT. Today was, we know he's not here, at least for today, and we got a plan, and we think we can do it. And I think the defense is looking at it saying, look, if we, as Christian Rector said, they don't score on you, they can't beat you. And I think the defense is thinking we have to really shut somebody down and give the offense a chance.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I'm we have this sense every week. I'm looking forward to how do they respond? How do the coaches respond? How do the players respond? I got the sense today they still believe they can get it done. I think that was a question coming out of the Utah game is when did they start saying, hey, what are we doing here? Do we believe still what we're doing? I think today you got a sense that, they still do. And that's really important. They have to do that. If they don't do that, it could be a long rest of the season. So I think that's really important that they look like they believe in what they can do. And I think they were kind of pleased that they looked like they knew what they were doing, even with with a new quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, that's going to wrap it up for USC's Wednesday practice of ASU week. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.